Developing right now on Morning News Now, America deep in the red. The national debt now at a new high, crossing the $40 trillion mark for the first time ever. President Trump also announcing the U.S. is close to what he calls a fair deal with our neighbor to the north after pressing pause on 50% tariffs on Canadian goods.
We're doing certain things. Got to give something. And we're doing certain things. Subject to the finalization of documents, we have a deal with Canada, and I think it's a very good deal for both parties.
What we know about an agreement and what it means for your wallet. The heat goes on. This morning, tens of millions of people bracing for another sweltering day. Heat alerts in effect from coast to coast. Angie is tracking it all. Plus, a potential breakthrough in the fight against cancer. A new experimental vaccine showing promise in keeping melanoma from returning or spreading. How it works and what it could mean for millions of patients and their families. And then life in the fast lane, an eye-opening new study renewing concerns about road safety. Would you be surprised to hear that some drivers say it's okay to go over the speed limit? Why authorities say those drivers need to switch gears. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. We begin this morning with growing concerns over the economic health of the U.S. government as the country's debt levels surge. On Wednesday, new figures by the Treasury Department revealed a costly new milestone for the national debt. For the first time, that number now tops $40 trillion. Perhaps just as troubling, the debt has more than doubled in a decade. For his part, President Trump is brushing off these concerns and touting his policies, including his tariffs. Those 50% levies he had threatened to put on some Canadian goods are still on hold until tomorrow as negotiators race to secure a new deal. In a few moments, we will speak with Investopedia's editor-in-chief and chief business editor of People Inc., Caleb Silver, about what this means for you. Before that, let's get to NBC News Washington correspondent Alice Barr. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. And starting with the national debt, those new numbers are setting off alarm bells among many economists over what they could mean for consumer costs in the coming years, and everything from credit cards to mortgages, all as we close in on midterm elections where the economy is front and center. The American economy hit with a painful headline: total U.S. debt now topping $40 trillion for the first time, according to the Treasury Department. That number more than doubling over the past decade, with President Biden and President Trump in his first term each adding about $8 trillion in new debt, much of that borrowing for pandemic response. The White House in a statement saying it's focused on slashing waste, fraud, and abuse in federal spending while accelerating economic growth, promising lower inflation and pushing for an interest rate cut to lower costs, something President Trump called for Wednesday while downplaying economic concerns.
I think we have a very powerful country, and we're powering through these ridiculous interest rates.
All as the president is threatening crushing economic warfare against Iran and unprecedented isolation, saying any country that does anything to help Iran evade sanctions will face tremendous economic consequences. That while hitting pause until midnight Friday on a punishing 50% tariff against Canadian goods, excluding oil, gas, and critical minerals. President Trump now saying the U.S. is close to reaching a new trade deal with Canada.
I delayed it at the request of Canada for 3 days so we can iron out the details. But it's going to be a wonderful deal, hopefully a wonderful deal for everybody.
Canadian negotiators say they're finalizing the deal's text.
I am very confident in these discussions.
As President Trump leans into economic leverage against friends and foes. And shifting back to the national debt, which, by the way, just ticks higher by the moment. Here's the problem for consumers. The kind of deficit spending lawmakers keep approving for decades, which has made the debt balloon, can also lead to even more inflation, piling on the challenges as the government works to get rising prices under control. Joe?
Alice, we know Republicans have often used the national debt to just attack Democratic plans and policies, but we've seen them approve some pretty hefty spending bills during President Trump's second term. How are these tensions playing out?
Yeah, the biggest example of this term is what President Trump called the big, beautiful bill, the tax cuts and added spending on the military and immigration enforcement. It was partially paid for through Medicaid cuts, but the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office still projects it's going to add $3.4 trillion to the national debt. There are deficit hawks within the GOP who initially raised objections, but ultimately voted for it overwhelmingly. There's some new reporting from our colleagues Sahil Kapoor and Rob Weil highlighting that despite Republicans' long-held insistence on this point, debt reduction is nowhere on the agenda right now. We're in the middle of a costly war. The Pentagon is asking for more money, and it's just not looking likely to summon the political will to go against President Trump's agenda for the sake of prioritizing the debt, even if it puts Republicans who run on lower government spending in a tight spot heading into the midterms.
All right, Alice Barr in Washington, thank you. Let's continue this conversation now with Caleb Silver. It seems like debt reduction is never really on the agenda these days. Help us understand how we got to this point of the debt more than doubling in a decade, hitting now this $40 trillion mark.
We're big spenders, and we've been spending as a government excessively for the last decade, but really for the last 50 to 100 years. But it really was that COVID response that added some $8 to $9 trillion on top of the debt. Plus, we are fighting a war right now, and that's costly. That's costing even more money on a daily basis. Plus, you also have those tax cuts, and that takes revenue away from the Treasury, from the government. So all those things are continuing to add to this mounting debt. 40 trillion is a massive number, and it's a symbolic number. We don't feel it as Americans on a daily basis, like we don't pay that money, but we kind of do pay that money with higher interest rates.
Yeah, help us understand, if we don't feel it every day, why does it matter so much? How does it affect the everyday consumer and the economy?
Well, just look at Treasury bond yields, and we've seen Treasury bond yields, especially for long-term Treasuries. This is the debt the U.S. government issues so we can pay our bills, and we get governments like the Bank of China and the Bank of Japan to buy it from us. Well, those yields have been rising up until yesterday. So higher yields means higher interest rates. That means higher interest rates for your mortgage payments. That means higher interest rates for car payments, credit card APRs. Money becomes more expensive. And now we're really approaching this 100% of GDP at the $40 trillion national debt level. If all the money we made in this country as individuals and businesses was put together, we could not pay down this bill.
So the Treasury Department says it's increasing the size of its government debt repurchases by at least double. What does that mean, and what would that actually accomplish?
Yeah, well, that's what we call yield curve control, and that is not a salon treatment you get to fix your hair. That is literally buying long-term Treasury bonds to bring down the yield, to make those bonds more attractive to those that buy our debt. And usually you see that in times of crisis. Saw that coming out of the pandemic. You've seen that back in 1999, 2000. It's not normal, a normal part of government function. You do see it in banks like the Bank of Japan, and Australia does this all the time. It's artificially bringing down yields by spending even more money. So that $40 trillion number keeps going up because now we're buying our own debt. We're issuing it and we're buying it. This is probably not the way Alexander Hamilton drew it up when he thought about issuing debt to help pay our bills.
I'm guessing not. Also, that doesn't sound like a good spot treatment either. No. Let's shift gears here real quick and talk about Canada. These talks are continuing. So far, we've averted seeing these 50% tariffs levied on them. What type of deal are we looking at here? Walk us through what's going on.
Yeah, well, the reporting, and we haven't had the full details of the deal, but the reporting so far, it looks like we'll get some reduction of those steep tariffs on aluminum and steel and auto parts, going from about 50% to 25%. The top line auto tariffs could come down to 15% from 25%. We get a lot of autos made in Canada, sold in the United States. They come right over that Windsor Bridge in Ontario there. So that's part of it. And also there's negotiations about what was discussed and what was agreed to in the USMCA. That's the trade agreement between Canada and Mexico and the United States that President Trump put into place first time around. We could see a lowering of tariffs there. So you're going to see a relaxation of some of those prices. That's good news for manufacturers, could be good news for consumers, especially when you're looking at softwood lumber, when you're looking at aluminum. We need those to build houses and to build factories. Right now, those prices are very high.
All right. Caleb Silver, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. From the debt at home to the threat abroad, President Trump is now threatening a, quote, economic D-Day against Iran, as Alice reported a moment ago. The president announced the U.S. will launch what he calls the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. This new pressure campaign comes as talks are deadlocked to end the war and to reopen that vital Strait of Hormuz. NBC News political reporter Megan Brand joins us now from Washington with more on that. So, Megan, what could this economic pressure campaign actually look like?
Hey, Joe, good morning. So Quite frankly, there are still a lot of questions about what this could actually look like in practice. But he had made this announcement in a Truth Social post where he had said that any country that allows its financial institutions, businesses, airports, or government entities to provide any type of lifeline to Iran will itself face tremendous economic consequences. He went on to say, it all needs to stop now. You know who you are. And so while Joe, he had threatened those tremendous economic consequences in that post, he didn't detail what those tremendous economic consequences could ultimately be. And so that's a big question moving forward about what that would ultimately look like if he does ultimately follow through on this. But one country to keep an eye on if he does follow through on this is China. And that's because China is a key trading partner of Iran, but also a very key trading partner for the U.S. So how exactly that shakes out is to be determined, Joe.
We'll have to see what happens there. Let's stick with foreign relations. President Trump did confirm to reporters he plans to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un this year. We remember that happened during his first term. Break down the context around this unusual move this time around.
Yeah, so it's a very unusual move for all presidents except for President Trump, because President Trump had previously met with Kim Jong-un 3 times, actually, through 2018 and 2019 during his first term. But this is significant because this also comes after earlier this week, President Trump had called for the U.S. to downsize those joint military exercises with South Korea, a key U.S. ally, moving forward. And so part of his rationale for doing that, for wanting to downsize those military exercises, is what he referred to as his very good relationship with Kim Jong-un, Joe.
Let's talk about some domestic news here. President Trump says he's going to nominate his White House aide. Dr. Heidi Overton is the FDA commissioner. Currently, she briefs the president on various health issues. She would then lead the agency as it deals with these cyclospora outbreaks in several states. She's going to need Senate confirmation. That might be tough. I mean, what are some of the early reaction this pick is getting from senators, including some Republicans?
Yeah, so before she even goes to the full Senate for a confirmation vote, she would need to pass out of this key Senate committee. And that committee is chaired by Senator Bill Cassidy. He's a Republican from Louisiana. He's also not facing re-election this fall. And he's already expressed some concerns about her nomination. So he said this in a post to X, where he wrote that he had strong concerns about her nomination. And one thing that he pointed to was her role in President Trump's vaccine executive order last week. He said that this calls into question her commitment to standing up for sound science and protecting children's health. That alone is almost disqualifying. And at the same time, Joe, it seems unlikely that she's going to get support from Democrats. We also heard yesterday from Senator Patty Murray, a Democrat, who had said that she's going to vote no on that nomination. She's also part of that key Senate committee. She wrote, the American people deserve someone who will put science and facts first, not another Trump sycophant who will make it their mission to attack medication, abortion. I will vote no. And she really has no margin for error here. That's because Republicans have just a 1-seat majority on that key committee. And so if someone like Senator Cassidy decides that they're not going to support Overton, then that could effectively, potentially tank her nomination before it even reaches the Senate floor, Joe.
All right. Megan Brand, a lot to cover this morning. Thank you so much. An investigation is underway into a deadly helicopter crash in Kenya that killed 7 people. Those on board were traveling between safari locations, among them 5 American tourists, including a veteran executive from the NBC Universal and Telemundo family. NBC's George Solis has the story.
A helicopter carrying tourists on safari ending in a horrific crash, killing 7 people, including 5 Americans. New video showing the search and recovery operation alongside charred debris in the mountainous terrain. Here, you can see the tail rotor warped from the crash, and these images from the Kenya Red Cross, smoke rising from the crash site, and part of the helicopter wreckage visible on the ground. Among the Americans killed, Jose Suarez, a Telemundo executive who led stations in Orlando, Tampa, and Fort Myers. Also on board, prominent South Florida restaurateur Roger Duarte, Ecuadorian intelligence official Michele Sensei Kontugi and his wife Stephanie, and married South Florida couple Henry Parra and Adam Levate, who love to travel, their friends tell NBC News. The aircraft went down around 9:13 local time near Mount Ololokwe in Samburu County. A pilot and all 6 passengers killed. Kenyan authorities say it was flying between two safari conservancies when it crashed.
What is your first assessment of what you've seen so far?
Well, the investigators are going to look at the debris field. I think they'll look at the weather. I think they will look at any work, mechanical work that had been done on the helicopter. I think they will look at the pilot's training.
The terrain is making the recovery effort difficult, with an active fire also reported at the crash site. Colleagues remembering Suarez, a more than 20-year veteran of NBC Universal News Group. Chairman Cesar Conde saying in a statement, "We are heartbroken by Suarez's death," adding he was an exceptional colleague who cared deeply about his teams.
And our thanks to George Solis for that report. This morning, a combination of stifling heat and summer storms is continuing to grip the nation. Today, another day of dangerous heat will stretch from the southwest to the Gulf Coast. 83 million people will be under heat alerts, bracing for temperatures that could once again reach triple digits. And the summer of relentless storms is threatening millions more today. Flood watches will extend from parts of the mid-Atlantic into the New York metro area. Our Priscilla Thompson is once again following it all for us from Houston. Priscilla, good morning. Let's start with this scorching heat wave. You know it well. You showed us yesterday how that football team is managing to stay cool by practicing early. What else are officials doing to keep kids safe as they head back to school?
Yeah, Joe, that is exactly what it is. It is minimizing the time outdoors, so holding those practices before sunrise, even for the younger kids who might be going out for recess. Instead of doing 30 or 45 minutes, they may only do 10 or 15 minutes outside and then bring them into the gym for the rest of their recess. So those are some of the things. And the other things that these schools are grappling with is these aging HVAC systems. We saw one school in Georgia that actually had to send kids to the classroom virtually because their HVAC system was overwhelmed in this heat. And we've heard from parents in Louisiana raising concerns about those unair conditioned school buses, just saying that, experts have said that sometimes it can be hotter inside those buses, even with the windows down, than it is outside. So a lot of things to watch for as kids are back in school and this heat the temperature just keeps going up. Joe?
Yeah, wow, that is a long ride to school if you don't have AC in those heat conditions there. What are some tips that just all of us can use to try and better protect ourselves from the heat as we head into these final weeks of summer?
Yeah, so I talked to the Houston Fire Department about this, and they say that a lot of the calls that they're getting are for heat exhaustion and specifically dehydration. So reminding people, especially those who are outside a lot, construction workers, to make sure that you're staying hydrated, which is a good message for everyone, and also to really try to minimize that time outdoors. He really emphasized that this is a days-long heat wave, and sometimes we don't realize the impact that this is having over a longer period of time, especially if you're not getting enough water and you're spending a lot of time outdoors. And for the kids, I will say, experts say, send them to school in breathable, loose clothing. We know the older kids like to wear the hoodies. Save that for the fall. And also, if you can, send them with a water bottle so that they can refill it and remember that hydration throughout the day. Joe?
Yeah, some good advice. Definitely not hoodie weather right now, Priscilla. We also mentioned the severe storms could create some floods in the eastern part of the country. Walk us through what we can expect from yet another round of heavy rain.
Yeah, so that I-95 corridor is going to be the place to watch today. It could impact the commute later on today as we're expecting some heavy storms from Connecticut to Virginia. We could see high winds in the mid-Atlantic and also a really heavy rain in the Northeast. So got to watch out for that. And Joe, I just want to tell you, we were on a high school campus yesterday and I saw multiple students in sweatshirts walking into school. So it is a thing.
Wow.
Joe?
All right, Priscilla Thompson, appreciate it. Continue to stay cool. Thanks for your reporting. We'll get some more details now on how the heat and the rain are going to play out today with your morning news now weather. Angie, I feel like if I put a hoodie or a sweatshirt on, it would just be permanently stuck to me. I don't know if I'd even be able to get it off.
The only place I need a hoodie is in this studio right here.
Yeah,
otherwise, you take one step outside. No thanks, Joe.
It is well air conditioned.
It is well air conditioned. We're staying cool in here, and I think that's, you just heard Priscilla say, that's the advice again for today. No surprise, we've still got more than 80 million people under these heat alerts. I know I sound like a broken record. It's all the same spots. A little nicer, kind of more refreshing conditions centered across parts of the Great Lakes in the Northeast for now. But across the southern tier of the country, the southeast especially, we are just scorching. 106 for Dallas today will feel like 108, 109 for the feels like in Memphis. Tomorrow, more of the same. Montgomery feels like 104, Columbia feels like 105. And even as we get into the weekend and next week, we are still quite steamy. We're going to see those high 90s to triple digits for the actual temperatures. And then, of course, you add in all of that humidity that's coming into this area. And Baton Rouge expects to feel like 108 on Saturday, 107 on Sunday, and 105 on Monday. And that's kind of the story, especially if you're across parts of Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. Raleigh, on the other hand, into the high 80s to low 90s for what it'll feel like through the weekend and beyond. Big picture look for the rain. This is finally on the move. We've got a couple of spots that we're going to watch for some stronger storms as we get into the afternoon hours and into the late evening. Notice the upper Midwest, Minneapolis, stretching down across parts of Kansas. The hail and the wind gusts are going to be what we'll watch later today. And then the Mid-Atlantic, a section of the Mid-Atlantic, really north of Raleigh, but including Washington, D.C., we'll see the chance for some strong wind gusts and potentially some tornadoes. We've got a risk of some isolated tornadoes out there through the day today. Already, though, we're ramping up those flood alerts. No surprise at this point. We've got a big batch of moisture kind of on the move and going to impact folks, especially across the I-95 corridor as we get into that evening commute. I think if you live in New York City, the first half of your day is going to be just fine. It's the second half of the day and beyond that you're going to see that heavy rain and the potential for some of those stronger thunderstorms to really ramp up across this region. And it does stretch north into parts of New England as well. That'll be on the move, though, and then we'll see a little bit of that kind of rain lingering for parts of New England tomorrow, Joe, and then some of that rain across parts of the southeast.
All right, Angie, thank you so much. A police report is revealing new details about the investigation into the death of actress Hayden Panettiere. It lays out who was at that apartment in South Carolina when she went into cardiac arrest on Sunday. Panettiere's mother is also telling NBC News more about who was involved in the investigation into her death. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson has the latest. Steve, good morning.
Yeah, we're following new details into the circumstances surrounding Panettiere's death, including separately new images of police at the Greenville home of her former boyfriend. New images of police at the doorstep of the men who were with Hayden Panettiere when she died. You can see Greenville police outside the home of Brian Hickerson and his brother. 2 squad cars are parked out front as officers can be seen walking up to the porch. Greenville police telling people that officers responded to a call for a welfare check at the home and that it was unrelated to the Hayden Panettiere death investigation. And we're seeing Hickerson in Greenville for the first time since Panettiere's death. Meanwhile, the actress's mother telling NBC News that police are investigating her daughter's death and that a narcotics investigator has been brought in. Neither Greenville police nor Hickerson have responded to NBC News' request for comment. Greenville police have said a preliminary investigation did not show evidence of foul play or suspicious circumstances. Panettiere wrote about her relationship with Hickerson in a recent memoir describing abuse she says she suffered. Shortly after, Hickerson admitting to some of the allegations in an interview with TMZ.
I had a lot to drink, and I got physical with her, and I got arrested, spent the night in jail.
Meanwhile, the coroner's office telling us that Panettiere's remains are now with her family. They say a full autopsy and toxicology report could take anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks. Back to you.
All right, Steve, thank you. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a royal return. Prince Harry and his wife Meghan heading back to the UK after 6 years in the US. What we know about their plans and where they stand in the royal family. Up first after the break, breaking overnight, a new round of deadly strikes by Russia against Ukraine. The latest next. We're back with new developments in the war in Ukraine. Overnight, Russia unleashed another deadly wave of strikes on Kyiv. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. Authorities in Ukraine say that more than a dozen people were killed and many more were wounded in a massive Russian missile attack on the capital, Kyiv, overnight. Now, these strikes hit 12 locations across the capital, causing damage to residential buildings, a medical facility, and a school. Emergency services immediately rushed to the scene and pulled out people from under the rubble. Let's go now to the Central African Republic, where more than 100 people have died after a gold mine collapsed on Wednesday. Authorities say the gold mine in a village close to the border with Cameroon caved in after a landslide. Footage shared on social media showed the landslide barreling down on miners, burying them in sand and mud. Local media said authorities had launched an investigation into the incident. And let's end this tour of the world in China, where the state news agency said the bottom section of a reusable rocket was recaptured on land for the first time on Wednesday. The rocket was developed by the private Chinese aerospace company Landspace. The technology, already used by SpaceX and Blue Origin, is crucial to reduce costs in sending satellites into orbit and for space exploration, Joe.
Yeah, it does get spendy. All right, Claudio, thank you so much. Rarely does someone's moving plans become the subject of international intrigue. But in the case of Prince Harry and his wife Meghan, that decision has sent shockwaves from the coast of California to the United Kingdom. In a surprising development, they're now expected to return to Britain with their children 6 years after the couple very publicly and dramatically moved to America. The move would make the UK their primary residence. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian has the details.
A royal bombshell nobody saw coming. The Telegraph newspaper reporting that 6 years after they stepped down as working royals, Prince Harry and his wife Meghan are moving back to the UK along with their 2 children. The move, the paper says, will make the UK their primary base, with Archie and Lilibet, 7 and 5, to be enrolled in British schools starting in September. When asked by NBC, a spokesperson for the couple did not deny the reports. India, quite the bombshell. How surprised were you and other royal insiders?
I think it's fair to say that it has caught everybody off guard. I think it's very important for Prince Harry, for his children, to understand his own British heritage, his upbringing, the family that they are a part of on this side of the Atlantic.
For now, the Telegraph reports the couple will not be reprising their roles as working royals, will not live in a royal residence, and their security arrangements still unclear. The couple left the UK for California in part because of what they said was unbearable treatment by the tabloids. Prince Harry's memoir later frayed tensions, describing the breakdown in the relationship with his brother and father. Last month, Harry was joined by Meghan and their children for a visit with the King and Camilla. It was the first time Charles, who's still receiving cancer treatment, had seen his grandchildren in 4 years.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much. We have to talk more about this with NBC News royal commentator Emily Nash, who joins us with more perspective. Emily, good morning. How surprised are you by this news?
Well, it has taken everyone by surprise, Joe. It really was the last thing anyone expected this summer. We were told just a couple of days ago that Harry was hoping to spend more time here, visiting every few months. And suddenly this has become a permanent move. No one saw that coming.
We heard contributor India McTaggart describe there in Danielle's report a moment ago the importance of Prince Harry showing his children his British heritage. How important do you think that is? What are some of the other reasons you think might be behind this move?
Well, you're absolutely right. Harry has talked in the last couple of years of how much he wanted his children to know his home country, to understand British culture, and of course to spend time with their family here. And they had that very successful reunion with King Charles and Queen Camilla just a few weeks back. I think that will have crystallised in his mind how important it is to him for the children to have that relationship. Of course, the King is 77 years old. He has an ongoing cancer treatment schedule. He wants to build those bridges now while he can.
Well, we're talking about the King. A source familiar with the couple's plans tells NBC News King Charles does welcome the chance to see more of his family, but also clear there will be no change to their status as private individuals. What do you think this move means for the royals, for their strained relationship? Is this a sign that things are thawing?
Well, I think that proximity will help with the reconciliation, but there's a very big mountain to climb here for Harry and Meghan. A lot of things have been said that will need quite a lot of unpicking. We know, of course, his relationship with Prince William remains extremely difficult. They haven't spoken to each other for several years now. But there is that glimmer of hope with his father, King Charles, who is, very grateful of further opportunities to spend time with the grandchildren in particular.
We know, Emily, another major concern for the couple since stepping away from their royal duties has been security in the UK, especially for their children. It's an issue we've seen pop up over the past few years. Do we have any idea of what that might actually look like? Any clue where they might be living?
Well, we know that it's not London. And, when they visited the UK recently, they made a point of not visiting the capital because we were told the risk profile there is greater than it is elsewhere in the country. But for understandable reasons, they don't want to share exactly where they're going to be. And nor are the Home Office commenting on what arrangements, if any, they have made that have satisfied the Sussexes enough to make them want to come back.
Do you have a feeling for how just the media is going to respond to all of this when they return? Do you think things might calm down a little bit, or could it ramp back up some more?
Well, I think things are at fever pitch right now because this story has taken everyone by surprise. But I think when they're here and they settle into school life, for example, they will have privacy. Meghan talked in the past about not feeling she'd be able to take the children on the school run without it becoming a royal photo shoot. And yet William and Kate do that every day without being photographed. It is possible for them to live privately here.
All right. Emily Nash, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Coming up, a glimmer of hope for millions of cancer patients and their families. A new experimental vaccine showing promising results in keeping melanoma from returning or spreading. Our friend Dr. Akshay Syal is here to explain how it works and what it could mean for the future of treatment. You're watching Morning News Now. We are back now with a possible breakthrough in the fight against one of the most common cancers. A new experimental vaccine and drug combination is showing promise in treating melanoma, the most dangerous form of skin cancer. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson has the details.
A potentially pivotal moment in the fight against high-risk melanoma. A new mRNA vaccine combined with the immunotherapy drug Keytruda showing clinically meaningful improvements, keeping the cancer from coming back in a large-scale trial. Melanoma is a serious form of skin cancer that kills more than 8,000 people a year. Dr. Michael Postow at Memorial Sloan Kettering worked on the trial.
Other types of cancer vaccines in general have been approved, but this is the first personalized cancer vaccine that's shown a benefit in a phase 3 study so far.
Gary Keblish got the vaccine in 2019 after his difficult diagnosis.
Not very good. 75% chance, if I remember correctly, of the melanoma returning within a 5-year period of time.
Now with his wife and daughter, the public school teacher says he is cancer-free.
Happy and healthy.
Here's how it works. First, doctors surgically remove the melanoma tumor. The patient starts on Keytruda while the tumor and patient's blood are analyzed for their unique mutations to make a vaccine. The process takes about 6 weeks. Moderna and Merck, developers of the experimental treatment, saw their stock prices jump on the news. More specifics on the trial outcomes are expected later this year. Now, in the earlier phase 2 trial that Gary was a part of, that combination of vaccine and Keytruda cut recurrence in half compared to Keytruda alone. Investigators will be looking to see if the phase 3 trial results are as good. Back to you.
All right, Ann, thank you. For more on this potential breakthrough, let's bring in NBC News medical contributor Dr. Akshay Syal. Good to have you with us. Help us put this into context. How big of a breakthrough could this be?
A potentially really big breakthrough, Joe. And sort of, you heard in the piece about what this treatment could look like. There's two components to this. There's the vaccine, which we'll get to in a second, and then there's also Keytruda. And the question, Joe, is how do these two sort of work together? And really what it is the vaccine can teach your immune system which sort of mutations in the tumor to respond to, and Keytruda sort of helps the tumor not put on this, cloak of invisibility. Cancer cells, by the way, Joe, are very good at, hiding from the immune system, and Keytruda sort of takes off this cloak of invisibility, lets the immune system actually attack those cells. But, as far as the vaccine goes, what they did, Joe, is they took out the tumor. They sort of look at the genetic makeup, and they develop a personalized treatment for each patient based on those mutations in the tumor, allowing the immune system to sort of attack those specific targets on the tumor cell. Not something we've seen for, in a large phase 3 study yet.
So Moderna and Merck have been working on this for about a decade. A reminder, these things take time. You walked us through some of it there, but help us better understand just how it does work to fight cancer, and apparently so effectively.
So this is part of a sort of broader movement to precision medicine, right? So traditionally when we talk about cancer treatment, think of chemotherapy, for example. The way it works is it sort of affects how cells grow and divide. The problem is sometimes it can be hard to just target tumor cells. So it can also affect, how our regular cells in our body grow and divide, which leads to side effects. Like people may know the nausea, the vomiting, the hair loss. So the whole goal of this has been to, identify targets that are unique to the cancer as opposed to the normal cells in our body. Can we train our immune system to actually go after those? And will it actually pan out in a large-scale trial? So far, these results are promising. Joe, I should add, they haven't released the full paper yet. They had just released the top-line findings.
Got it. The doctor there said personalized cancer vaccine. What exactly does that mean?
It means that, each single patient is going to have their tumor looked at under a microscope, looking at those mutations, analyzing them, and then developing a specific treatment based on your tumor's genetic makeup.
So that sort of begs the question, how quickly could we see something like this in more widespread use, and how much could it actually cost?
Right, that's the big question. So, first things first is we need to see the full, large, actual data from this trial, not just the press release and not just the top-line findings. There are a whole other sort of cancers we're looking at beyond melanoma, including, pancreatic cancer would be a big breakthrough, lung cancer, bladder cancer, all sorts of other, different types of tumors. Question is, how much is this going to cost? This isn't a vaccine the way you and I think of vaccines, where we go to CVS and we get a, vaccine for flu or COVID. It's going to involve every person's tumor being sent to a lab, analyzed, and then a personalized vaccine developed for that patient. That's going to be expensive. The question is, how much will insurance pay? First things first, we got to see that data.
And I have a feeling a lot of people right now who might be dealing with melanoma might have some questions for their doctor. What's the recommendation at this point?
The recommendation, don't forget your skin cancer screenings. I have a close friend who just actually had a skin cancer removed. So please make sure you are going to your dermatologist every single year, getting those checks. Wear sunscreen, apply it every 2 hours if you're outside. All these things you can do to reduce your risk of melanoma should you eventually get diagnosed. Hopefully treatments like this do make it out to the pipeline.
I had a good reminder from my dermatologist last week, ears. People often forget about their ears, and I'm guilty of that, putting the sunscreen on those as well. All right, Dr. Sayal, good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Coming up, slow your roll. A startling new survey shows many drivers don't pay attention to the speed limit. You don't say. But authorities want you to know the next time you hit the road, not so fast. Morning News Now will be right back. We are back now with a new study by AAA that focuses on speeding. It found that 3 in 10 drivers believe that no one actually drives the speed limit. The study also says many drivers believe that going slightly over the posted speed limit is acceptable. For more, let's bring in Kellen Howell, a spokesperson for AAA, also published a summary of the study's findings on AAA's website. Kellen, good morning. Good to have you with us. This is a good talker. First, maybe we should define speeding because, while I do recognize you're supposed to go the limit, personally, I've taught myself 10 miles over is speeding, 9 miles over the limit is okay. I'm guessing that's not actually true, but what do you find about people's perceptions about speeding and why drivers do go over the limit?
Good morning, Joe. Well, you are actually in the majority of the way people feel about speed limits and what is an appropriate speed limit, according to this study. The technical definition of speeding, of course, would be going at any speed over what the posted speed limit is, because it is a speed limit, not a speed suggestion, right? But what this study finds is that most people feel like going 10 miles an hour, sometimes more, is totally fine and acceptable, and that it's not very likely that that is going to be an enforceable speed. In some cases, some people in this study said that going as much as 25 miles an hour over the speed limit was totally acceptable. Those are places like rural highways. And the flow of traffic is also a really powerful determinant in what people consider to be speeding. More than half of people surveyed in this study said that it was safer to keep up with traffic than it was to actually travel at the speed limit, Joe.
That's an interesting observation. I remember covering in Minnesota years ago, they raised the speed limit in some areas because the worry was too many people were going too many different speeds, and that was creating danger. And the goal of raising the speed limit was to kind of get everyone sort of going the same pace. Have you heard that before?
I think the way that speed limits are determined is a really nuanced issue. And certainly there are cases like that where the determination has been made that raising the speed limit would sort of neutralize, so to speak, the travel or the rate that everyone is traveling at. But when it comes to speed limits, one interesting finding in this study was that most people said that current speed limits were appropriate. So even though most drivers were saying that it was okay to go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, they didn't say that speed limits needed to be raised. On a residential street, they agreed that 25 miles an hour makes sense, and so on and so forth. So it's not like most people are saying that speed limits need to be raised. They're just not exactly following what the speed limit says.
That's fascinating. On the flip side, what are some of the reasons that drivers do slow down and then actually decide to obey the speed limit?
Well, one of the biggest factors, Joe, was law enforcement, actually. Many drivers said that their top reason for slowing down and following the speed limit was in order to avoid getting a ticket. Another top reason was to avoid getting into a crash. If, the flow of traffic changes and people suddenly start slowing down, they're going to start slowing down too. And then another big determinant was weather and road conditions. If the weather is bad, it's snowing or there's really heavy rain, that's going to be something that will cause more people to slow down as well.
That certainly makes sense there. So what are the factors we should consider when determining how fast we can go or how fast we should go?
Well, Joe, the normalization of speeding means that this is something that is going to take a lot of time and a lot of different creative approaches by local law enforcement and by local, policymakers to get people to slow down. But something that could be considered is what this study finds about how people feel about certain countermeasures, because what they support is obviously something that's going to be helpful for those folks to know. What this study found is that drivers really value countermeasures that give them control and personal choice. So they were a lot more likely to support more law enforcement present, high visibility police cars out on the road and automated speed cameras than they were to support things like speed bumps or roundabouts that would physically force a driver to slow down. One thing that we can do right now, though, is have this really important conversation about the dangers of speeding and just reminding drivers why it's so important to slow down. Speeding is one of the top contributors to traffic fatalities. 30% of all traffic fatalities in 2024 involved a driver who was speeding, and that resulted in over 11,000 deaths in 2024. So this really is a big issue on the road, and it's very important to make sure that you slow down and give time to react to any changes in the flow of traffic or weather conditions or anything like that, because it's going to make all the difference in a crash.
Fantastic job summing up why you did this research and why it is so important. Kellen Howell, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
For decades now, American reality TV has turned weight loss into entertainment. Shows like The Biggest Loser and My 600-Pound Life have drawn millions of viewers and plenty of criticism. Well, now Netflix has announced a new show called Wait to Date. The show follows singles as they look for love after extreme weight loss. NBC News correspondent Marquise Francis has the story.
Can losing weight mean finding love? That's the question Netflix's newly announced reality TV show Wait to Date is aiming to answer. It's casting now, looking for singles who are, quote, ready to find love after a significant body change. But as the country sees a massive cultural shift around weight loss, is the premise of Wait to Date wading into troubled waters? Old reality shows such as The Biggest Loser now getting plenty of backlash, in part thanks to Netflix.
We were looking for people who were overweight and unhappy.
The Biggest Loser was hugely popular on NBC for 17 seasons, attracting millions of viewers.
Are you ready?
It turned weight loss into a competition, with a $250,000 prize for the contestant who shed the most pounds after 30 weeks of hardcore physical training and dieting. In the years since the show's cancellation, it's been criticized for its mental and physical impact on contestants.
And I am not surprised that there are so many contestants who had a bad experience.
A 2016 study in the peer-reviewed research journal Obesity followed 14 cast members and found that many of them had regained much of the weight they lost after 6 years. But perhaps the biggest backlash came from former participants who say cast members engaged in potentially harmful activities off camera to meet their weight goals.
If I'm going to be grateful for my part in inspiring people, I need to take responsibility for the fact that I participated in a myth that hurts people.
The show's creator eventually firing back publicly, saying they took the health and safety of contestants, quote, very seriously. But Netflix itself platforming some of that criticism in a documentary just last year, looking at the way the show perpetuated a cultural stigma against being overweight.
People like making fun of fat people.
Of course, now GLP-1s like Ozempic drastically changing the science of losing weight, with many doctors hailing the many benefits of the drugs. Their popularity making a cultural splash as well.
When I look around this room, I can't help but wonder, is Ozempic right for me?
But the drugs are not without critics, including former host of The Biggest Loser, Jillian Michaels.
If we could facilitate an individual's ability to simply eat less food and to simply move more often, we would get all the benefits that these medications provide with none of the side effects.
We reached out to Netflix for comment and have not heard back. The company says in a press release the show will join a slate of upcoming unscripted series like Age of Attraction and Love is Blind. Of course, no stranger to sensitive topics.
My autism affects my social interactions.
Netflix's Love on the Spectrum has earned the streamer 7 Emmys. So will this new show be another hit or ignite a firestorm? We'll have to wait to see. Marquise Francis, NBC News.
Coming up on Morning News Now, proof that if you build it, they will come.
This is Carson. She is 6 years old and she's learning how to slalom ski.
It's a heartwarming story that sounds like something out of a movie. After the break, we'll take you to Wisconsin, where one farmer transformed his cornfield into a lake of dreams for his kids. We'll be right back. Finally this hour, when a corn farmer in Wisconsin decided he wanted a place for his kids to water ski, he didn't just take them to a nearby lake. He found a more creative solution. My friend Boyd Hoopert from our Twin Cities affiliate KARE 11 has the story.
Grow up on a farm and you work.
We would get up before school, feed calves.
But
yep.
Elaine Hellerfottler's dad
had
more than cows on his mind.
Play and fun. Mainly water skiing.
Water skiing
Yep.
was an inconvenient choice for a man living in a sea of corn.
He has an idea.
Till Elaine's dad planted something new.
We dug down to the water table.
A lake that grew from a cornfield.
Blue Moo. You gotta honor the girls that pay the bills that dug the hole.
Blake Heller is unaware of another farmer.
Nobody crazy enough.
Who'd hire a neighbor with an excavator to dig a trench a half-mile long. Then count on underground springs to fill Blue Moo Lake.
He's definitely different.
That's putting it nicely. He's a little different.
Greg Fottler is Blake's son-in-law. And this is what happened. As Greg and Elaine's kids, Tucker, Kaysen, Carson, and Cooper, were introduced to Blue Moo.
This is Carson. She is 6 years old and she's learning how to slalom ski.
Carson's parents have made Blue Moo their kids' ski school.
This is how you teach people how to barefoot.
Which has surprised
1 foot.
No one.
Two of us met at a barefoot tournament when we were 13. The very first time we went against each other, I beat her.
And then the 4 times after that, it was me.
I let her beat me a couple times at those tournaments, got her number, and here we are.
Greg, for the record, is a Blue Moo big to-do, too.
This is a back beat.
But only one person on this boat is in this book.
Yeah, Mom, because she broke the world record.
World record barefoot skiing jump, 2 world championships, and 2024 inductee into the USA Water Skiing Hall of Fame.
Still got it.
All earned training in a cornfield. Maybe Elaine's dad wasn't so crazy.
You bet. God dang right.
Nor is this.
Yeah, brand new.
Elaine's family
At the Blue Moo.
now lives in the cornfield, too.
Why not here? We have this beautiful lake, that's why.
It's as if 20 years ago, her dad just knew.
That's where it all started.
Hollywood may have built a baseball diamond in a cornfield, but it took Blake,
Well, yeah.
to grow a lake.
This is our dream come true.
Sure beats a kiddie pool in the backyard. Our thanks to Boyd Hoopert for that great story. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but don't go anywhere. The news continues right now. Good Thursday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. Right now on Morning News Now, heat is the word. Mother Nature's thermostat running on hot, hot, hot for more than 80 million Americans today. Folks all across the South, including kids heading back to school, taking some extra steps to stay cool and stay safe during this late summer swelter. Angie's watching it all. We'll have the latest coming up. Also this morning, the desperate search for answers overseas in the wake of a tragic safari helicopter crash in Kenya. Officials saying all 6 tourists and the pilot on board were killed. That includes 5 Americans. The investigation now underway into what went wrong. Plus, a royal bombshell sending shockwaves across the globe. Why Prince Harry and Meghan are booking it back to Britain after 6 years here in the States. And are the decades of all that new phone hype officially a thing of the past? Later in the hour, the tech-savvy shoppers are ditching the latest and greatest for something a little more out of date. Let's start this hour with that late summer heat wave that is sending temperatures soaring nationwide. This morning, more than 80 million people are facing heat alerts all across the country. The toasty end of summer will bring yet another day of temperatures creeping into triple digits. It's putting an emphasis on safety for kids who are heading back into classrooms. Schools are now working around the clock to keep students cool and comfortable. We will get a full forecast from Angie Lassman in just a moment, but we begin with NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson, who is down in Houston with more. Priscilla, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. Even this early, you can feel how thick the air is and just how hot it is going to get here today. Splash pads like this one are going to provide some relief as millions across the country are looking for ways to stay cool and safe. This morning, extreme weather coast to coast. Over 80 million Americans sweltering under heat alerts, with the heat index as high as 115 in parts of the Southeast. But other areas hit with ferocious storms. Possible tornadoes touching down in Ohio and Indiana.
It's touched down.
Heavy rain and strong winds pounding the Midwest. Floodwaters covering roads and cars. Further south, the Mississippi State campus hit with heavy wind and rain on the first day of classes. Students of all ages coping with the wild weather across the country. That extreme heat impacting back-to-school season. Here in Texas, officials taking extra precautions to keep students safe.
The normal time for recess is 30 minutes, or perhaps it goes down to 15 minutes to limit the time that the students are in the heat.
In Louisiana, the scorching conditions raising alarms for parents.
That's a long ride on the bus with no AC, and it's 95 degrees outside.
First responders say keeping kids hydrated is key.
Get away from the sugary drinks, energy drinks. Those dehydrate you even more, so it adds to the problem.
From Phoenix to Alabama, volunteers racing to help the most vulnerable. Crews in Phoenix also working to add nearly 200 miles of cool pavement. A special sealant described as sunscreen for the roads.
This grayer coating can make up to 12 degrees Fahrenheit difference at noon.
As communities nationwide find creative ways to stay cool. And experts we've spoken to say that there are 2 simple things that parents can do when sending their kids to school. One is make sure that they're going in loose, breathable clothing, save the hoodies and the sweatshirts for the fall, and send them with a refillable water bottle so that they can, as a reminder, sort of stay hydrated throughout the day. Joe?
Some good tips there. Priscilla, thank you so much. So for more on the weather where you are, let's bring in meteorologist Angie Lassman, who's got your morning news now forecast. Angie, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. No surprise, temperatures are hot, just as Priscilla said, and it's across all of the southeast. We're going to be 106 degrees in Dallas today, but feeling like 108, 95 in Orlando, but feeling like 104, and even Atlanta, a heat index of 104 later today. More of the same for tomorrow, and even as we look way ahead to the weekend and beyond, we're still staying quite warm across the southern tier of the country, specifically places like Oklahoma and San Angelo. You're going to see temperatures feeling like 100 plus through at least early next week. We've also got some of these stronger storms we're tracking today, already a bit busy across parts of the Appalachians. We're going to see that rain move into the mid-Atlantic and parts of the Midwest. You'll also see kind of some stronger storms that pop up here as the afternoon and evenings go on. And we do have the tornado threat across parts of the mid-Atlantic, along with that potential for some flooding. More than 30 million people already under flood alerts as this batch of moisture is on the move. Now, across the I-95 corridor, we'll see fairly nice first half of the day, second half of the day, not so much. And this is just in time with some of that heavy rain arriving just in time for that afternoon commute. So it could get a little bumpy on the roadways or even some travel across this region out of the airports. Likely going to be difficult. You can see it stretches up into parts of New England. The good news is that'll mostly be on the way out with some of these lingering showers still left over tomorrow across New England. But otherwise, it's part of the southeast that we'll start to see those stronger storms ramp up just in time for your Friday. Beyond that, we're going to remain unsettled across the northeast for Saturday. Won't be a good beach day there or across parts of the Great Lakes. We'll still see some of those showers included. And if you feel like it's just been kind of a rainy month in the Midwest, you are not wrong. There has been this kind of corridor of extreme rain stretching from Iowa to West Virginia. Notice we are talking about more than 10 inches of rain in places like Muncie, Indiana, almost 500% of the normal for this month. So it has been very unsettled, very rainy. And if you remember, when we kind of started this pattern, I mentioned it's because of the heat dome. We see this heat dome kind of parked across parts of the southeast. That's ramped up our temperatures and kind of kept them in that range. But it's also led us to kind of usher in some of this Gulf moisture and have all of the lift that we need in the atmosphere right on the tier, at the northern tier of that heat dome, which is where all the rain sets up and where we've kind of been stuck dealing with some of those showers and thunderstorms. There is a climate connection to this, though. We see that kind of as the Gulf gets warmer, which, you know, it's running 2 to 5 degrees above average this time of year, that moisture goes into the atmosphere and basically provides for more rain to fall, which is why we get these heavy rain events, Joe. And we know that the Gulf warmth is about 100 times more likely because of climate change. So it's all part of this bigger system that, again, is linked to climate change and has left us really soggy across the Midwest and dealing with the flooding concerns for the long haul, unfortunately.
So if you have a heat dome, you might get like a rain moat around it?
Yeah,
is that the way to put it?
Let's work on something for that. I like where rain moat is good.
Rain moat. All right. Angie, thanks for walking us through that. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Looks like President Trump has a new focus on the global stage. Well, he suggests he's in no hurry to resume talks to end the war in Iran. He's now turning his attention to North Korea. He revealed he has been in contact with that country's leader, Kim Jong-un, and wants to meet with him later this year. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Garrett Haake joins us now with more on that. Garrett, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Good morning. And all of these things may be related, with President Trump's frustration with the ongoing Iran war coming through loud and clear in a series of new threats he posted overnight, calling for a, quote, crushing economic operation that he suggests could end that conflict. But the president's plate also now includes these new concerns about the state of our own economy, with U.S. debt hitting an almost inconceivable $40 trillion, and that new outreach to a longtime foe. This morning, as the war with Iran approaches 6 months with no end in sight, President Trump suggesting he's in no hurry to resume negotiations.
Maybe at some point, but right now, I think the situation is so good.
Overnight, the president posting on social media that the U.S. will launch, quote, economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale against Iran, calling it an economic D-Day. Iran's foreign minister labeling the move, quote, a diversion from America's own crisis, unprecedented debt, and surging interest costs. It comes after the news yesterday that America's national debt passed the $40 trillion mark for the first time in history. The debt has doubled in the last decade, exploding in both President Trump's first term and under President Biden, largely due to pandemic response spending. While the Trump administration says it's working to drive down the debt, it's also spending big on tax cuts and the Iran war. Yesterday, the president again calling out allies for not joining him in that fight and praising a longtime U.S. foe, North Korea. Telling reporters he's been in contact with dictator Kim Jong-un and hopes to meet with him later this year.
The fact that I get along with him, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. He has 57 very powerful nuclear weapons.
In a show of goodwill, the president ordering joint military exercises cut short with U.S. ally South Korea. Despite 3 in-person meetings between Kim and Trump during his first term, I pressed the president on why he thinks this time would be different.
Is your goal in trying to re-engage with Chairman Kim still denuclearization? And what makes you think you could be successful now when you weren't?
Well,
in the
I don't want
first
to talk
term?
about that, but I do have a good relationship with Kim Jong-un. We speak, and I think our nation and I think other nations, frankly, whether it's Japan or South Korea, they're a lot safer if I'm president than if somebody else is president.
And all of this comes as the president continues to focus on his White House construction projects. You may hear some of them behind me, including yesterday unveiling a massive new helipad on the White House South Lawn. This multi-million-dollar granite pad was designed to handle those next-generation Marine One helicopters. It looks like a giant seal of the United States. And, Joe, the fate of another project could be decided today, too, with the Supreme Court expected to rule by week's end on whether the East Room ballroom construction can continue.
A lot of construction there. All right, Garrett, thank you so much. Investigators are looking into Wednesday's helicopter crash in Kenya, which killed all 7 people on board. Among the victims, 5 American tourists, including a veteran Telemundo executive. NBC News correspondent George Solis joins us with more on this. George, good morning.
Joe, good morning to you. This tragedy has hit so many hard, especially here in South Florida. Jose Suarez was known as a mentor to so many in newsrooms across the country. Roger Duarte is survived by his child and his wife, whose family owns the iconic Versailles restaurant here in Little Havana. The family at a loss for words as the search for answers continues.
This morning, an investigation is underway after a helicopter taking tours on safari in Kenya crashed. The pilot and 6 passengers, including 5 Americans, all killed, according to the Kenyan Aviation Authority and U.S. State Department. This video showing the search and recovery efforts amid charred debris in the mountainous terrain of East Africa. Kenya's Red Cross sharing these images showing plumes of smoke rising from the scene and part of the chopper's wreckage visible on the ground.
Having been an accident investigator for 30 some odd years, you learn not to speculate until you at least have hard data. Right now, we have very little data.
Among the Americans killed, Jose Suarez, a longtime Telemundo executive who led stations in Orlando, Tampa, and Fort Myers. In a statement, NBC Universal Chairman Cesar Conde calling Suarez a deeply respected leader and beloved friend and colleague who brought energy, humor, warmth, and a strong sense of purpose to his work. Also on board, prominent Miami restaurateur Roger Duarte.
Here at George Stone Crab, we've been in operation for over 17 years.
In a statement to NBC News, his family writing, "There are no words to express the depth of our pain." Also among the group, married South Florida couple Henry Parra and Adam Levate. Their friends telling NBC News both enjoyed traveling the world together. We reached out to their families, who declined comment. Ecuadorian intelligence official Michele Sensei Kontugi and his wife Stephanie also losing their lives. Kenyan authorities say the helicopter was flying between 2 safari conservancies when it crashed Wednesday morning.
The investigators are going to look at the debris field and anything they can learn from that, how the helicopter hit the ground. Did it hit anything before it arrived at its final impact point?
Joe, Kenya aviation authorities tell me they will be back at the crash site today to see if they can piece together more information and learn more about what happened. They tell me the terrain is rugged and difficult to get to, saying you actually need a chopper to reach some places. A preliminary report is expected in about 30 days. The loss, unfathomable. Joe?
All right, George, we're thinking of all their families. Thank you. Turning now to another tough story. It's day 17 in the high-profile murder trial against Lindsay Clancy. She's the Massachusetts mom who killed her 3 young children before trying to take her own life. Clancy's defense team claims she suffered from postpartum psychosis and should not be held criminally responsible for the deaths. Over the last few days, they've called some of her family members to the stand, and a string of doctors have testified about Clancy's worsening mental health. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett is following the emotional testimony for us. Laura, good morning.
Hey there. This high-profile trial began 3 weeks ago, but the public fascination around the case only growing now as people dive into Lindsay Clancy's life and what happened before those killings.
This morning, with national attention building around the case of Lindsay Clancy, her supporters now planning to rally at the courthouse in Massachusetts after a key witness took the stand. Dr. Paul Zeisel, a psychologist who evaluated Clancy dozens of times, now bolstering the defense's case.
She heard a male voice instructing her to first kill her children and then to kill herself.
Clancy admits she killed her 3 young children back in 2023, but has pled not guilty to charges of first-degree murder. Her attorneys arguing she should not be held criminally responsible because she was in the throes of postpartum psychosis and poorly medicated with powerful psychiatric drugs. While prosecutors say the former labor and delivery nurse planned the murders before staging a suicide attempt that left her paralyzed.
This was a woman who acted intentionally, rationally, and swiftly to accomplish a very specific goal: to kill.
The spotlight on the case online,
I am pro-Lindsay,
sparking renewed conversations around postpartum mental health.
It's a very unique situation where people are not there for a personality because they're supporting Lindsay Clancy or they're against Lindsay Clancy. They're there because they want people to understand how dangerous postpartum situations are and illnesses are.
In court, the jury has heard from multiple witnesses who testified Clancy was a devoted mother who loved her children and was in desperate need of help, including her former mother-in-law, who described Clancy's struggles leading up to the killings.
She was very anxious and sad. She was begging for help.
When court resumes later today, the defense team is expected to call at least 1 or 2 more witnesses before resting its case, including an expert in postpartum psychosis. Back to you guys.
All right, Laura Jarrett, thank you. For more on this trial, I'm joined now by Boston Globe reporter Camilo Fonseca. Camilo, thanks for joining us. I know you've been closely following this case from the very beginning. We just heard in Laura's piece there most of the testimony over the last couple days has come from a forensic psychologist who evaluated Clancy's mental state for the defense. Has anything surprised you most so far in this trial?
I think a lot of the surprising things have been what has come out around the trial, the sort of public response to Clancy. And this has clearly resonated with a lot of people. I mean, obviously, the details that investigators have gotten into have been incredibly, incredibly graphic, starting with the 911 call that was played just in the courtroom. That audio hasn't been released, but the effect that it had on people in the courtroom was clear. So incredibly graphic stuff, but obviously it's resonated with a lot of people for the spotlight that's put on issues like postpartum psychosis.
In an unexpected move, the judge dismissed the jury early yesterday after he said a potential defense witness couldn't give evidence. Tell us more about that, why the judge says this person could not testify.
Yeah, so that witness was Emily Thorndike, who previously worked at McLean Hospital, which was one of the hospitals that Lindsay Clancy sought treatment at. And essentially, the way that she came into the trial was that she posted a TikTok detailing her qualms with some of the testimony that was previously offered. And a defense attorney, Kevin Reddington, reached out to her and tried to introduce her as a late witness. The Judge William Sullivan, ruled that her testimony had limited materiality because she wasn't working at McLean Hospital when Clancy sought treatment. She left about a year before, so it would have been conjectural exactly how relevant her testimony was.
Camilo, this is one of the biggest cases in Massachusetts since Karen Reed's two murder trials. Of course, she was acquitted of murdering her police officer boyfriend. It was a case that sparked a huge public response. It was quite polarizing. This case is very different, as that other local reporter we heard from a moment ago mentioned. This is less about personality and more about an issue. How are local people in the Massachusetts, in the Boston area, reacting to this?
I think there are key differences with the Karen Reed trial. You're right, it's not about personality, but because of how, not only the sort of tragic details about it, but the real spotlight that it's putting on postpartum mental health, it really, really is resonating with people. I mean, there have been vigils and support. I think there's one maybe scheduled for today around the courthouse, not to the degree necessarily of Karen Reed, but it's clear that this is something that people are paying attention to and really caring about, both in social media, over social media, and in person.
And quickly, just what can we expect next? Are things wrapping up soon?
Yeah, we're getting toward the end of testimony. The defense is going to call a couple more witnesses, a couple more experts, I believe, in postpartum psychosis to bolster their case that was what Lindsay Clancy was suffering from. And then they may rest their case today or, within the next coming days. And the prosecution may call a few more witnesses after that. And then we should be getting to closing arguments soon.
All right. Camilo Fonseca, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you so much. To our audience, if you or someone you know is pregnant or a new mother who's struggling or in an emotional crisis, you can get help by calling the National Maternal Mental Health Hotline. It is on your screen. They provide free, confidential support in English and Spanish. And if you or someone you know is struggling, you can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, that number 988. Now to the latest on the death of actress Hayden Panettiere. Federal agents are now working with local authorities in the ongoing investigation into her passing. This as fellow stars honor her memory and speak out about the pressures of growing up in the spotlight. NBC News correspondent Kaylee Hartung has more on this. Kaylee, good morning.
Hey there. We watched Hayden Panettiere grow up on our screens. Now her death is prompting fellow actors to discuss the intense pressure young stars face in Hollywood and the impact that can have, while authorities try to understand what happened in her final moments.
This morning, Hayden Panettiere's death now under new scrutiny. The Drug Enforcement Agency is working with local authorities on the investigation, according to a source familiar with the probe. The news comes after Panettiere's mother, Leslie Vogel, told NBC News a narcotics investigator is involved, adding, "It leads me to believe they have questions." On Wednesday, police say they performed an unrelated welfare check at the family home of Panettiere's ex-boyfriend, Brian Hickerson, who was with the actress when 911 was called, and paramedics found her unresponsive.
CPR is in progress.
According to the coroner's report, her cause of death has not been determined yet.
It's not the problem.
Panettiere spent nearly her entire life in the spotlight, recounting in her memoir released earlier this year.
From a very young age, I lost the chance to have a normal childhood, friends, relationships, and my privacy.
It's something Jack Coleman, who played her TV dad in Heroes, addressed in a tribute, writing, "She was hunted. Everywhere she went, there were photographers. No one, especially a teenager, should be targeted that way." Hollywood has mourned the loss of many young stars through the years, who often battled with mental health and addiction before their untimely deaths. Now others are speaking out about the challenges of early fame.
I want you to marry me.
Including Panettiere's Nashville co-star, Jonathan Jackson, posting overnight about the bond they shared both growing up in the industry, with a silent knowing of how intense the struggles can be. While Hillary Duff writing, "We were part of such a small sliver of people who actually understood the strange lot in life we were navigating. So young, with no real idea how to make sense of any of it." Last year, Miley Cyrus telling the New York Times she and fellow child actor Ariana Grande have also spoken about the price of fame.
Ariana says that there should be, the therapy for child actors, which I totally agree.
And Hayden Panettiere's mother tells NBC News her body's been returned to their family, and now they're working on plans for her funeral service. Back to you.
All right, Kaylee, thank you. Much more to come on this Thursday edition of Morning News Now, including why brand new smartphones are often being overlooked by more consumers in favor of something, well, a little more pre-loved. First, though, after the break, what we know about that royal bombshell shocking the world. Harry and Meghan returning to the UK after living in the States for years. When it might happen next. We are back with that bombshell from the British royals. Prince Harry and his wife Meghan are returning to the UK 6 years after moving to the US. That is according to a source familiar with the couple's plans. The move would make the UK their primary residence again, and it could happen within the next 2 weeks. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian is outside Buckingham Palace with the details. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning from the suddenly torrential London, Joe. Another jaw-dropping moment in the Harry and Meghan saga. I think up until last night when the news broke, everybody here would have told you that this move was unthinkable. But as you say, we're now expecting them to be residents of the UK by the end of the month.
This morning, a royal U-turn. 6 years after moving to California for a new life, Harry and Meghan, along with their 2 children, are coming back to the UK. The move, a bombshell not even royal insiders saw coming. After all, this is what Harry said just last year.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point.
According to the Daily Telegraph, which broke the story, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will keep their home in Montecito but make the UK their primary base, with 7-year-old Archie and 5-year-old Lilibet enrolled in British schools starting in September. When asked by NBC News, a spokesperson for the couple did not deny the plans to move back. Last night, Harry was all smiles at a veterans event in Washington. A source familiar with the couple's plans tells NBC News Harry and Meghan will not reprise their roles as working royals, and that Charles found out about their planned return just last Sunday. The family's security arrangements, always a sticking point for Harry, are still unclear.
What triggered this?
Harry, we know, didn't quite gel with the showbiz life, shall we call it, in Hollywood. I think that's much more Meghan's sort of interests and repertoire.
During their California stint, Meghan and Harry worked on multiple projects, including a podcast and a business called As Ever, which the Telegraph reports Meghan will be running from the UK. As for their high-profile Netflix deal, that ended earlier this year. Back in 2020, their departure from the UK was coined Mexit by the press. They left, in part, they said, because of the unbearable treatment by the British tabloids. There were accusations of prejudice directed at the royal family, which pushed back on all of it.
Can you just let me know, is the royal family a racist family, sir?
No, we're very much not a racist family.
And that tell-all memoir from Harry, Spare, fraying tensions even further. Last month, Harry was joined by Meghan and their children for a visit with the King and Queen Camilla. It was the first time Charles, who is still receiving cancer treatment, had seen his grandchildren in 4 years.
And that same source tells NBC News the King welcomes the opportunity to spend more time with the Sussex family in a private capacity. Joe, back to you.
All right, Danielle, thank you. Back here in the United States, back-to-school season is sparking immigration concerns for students and parents across the country. In fact, some families with mixed immigration status say they've even considered taking their kids out of school over deportation fears. Telemundo's Lourdes Hurtado spoke to 3 Guatemalan families in Florida that are working through this difficult decision.
Not every student made it back to school this year.
Estaban diciendo que lo van a sacar los niños en la escuela, que van a llevar donde viven sus padres y nos van a deportar también y nos van a quitar nuestros hijos que son nacidos de aquí. Y ese es el miedo. ¿Y quién va a cuidar nuestros hijos?
The surge in ICE arrests led some immigrant families to reassess the risk of enrolling their children, many of whom are American citizens.
¿El año pasado tus hijos fueron a la escuela?
Sí, el año pasado, pero por miedo. Por el momento ya no quiero ir a mandar mis 3 hijos. Prefiero quedar ellos en la casa.
Noticias Telemundo spoke to 3 indigenous Guatemalan families in Florida who requested we don't show their faces for fear of being detained and deported.
No la fui a matricular por el miedo que tengo por mis hijas. Y si ya no nos vamos a mandar, ya después vienen a buscar a nosotras otra vez. ¿Por qué no estamos mandando los niños?
She says she cannot afford a computer for online classes, putting her 12-year-old daughter's education on hold.
¿Sientes que es un riesgo ir a la escuela?
Tal vez.
¿Y tú quisieras tomar ese riesgo? ¿O crees que es mejor quedarte segura?
Mejor ir a la escuela para aprender algo.
ICE says it does not target schools during general enforcement operations.
This is school property!
However, at least 17 instances of ICE activity on school grounds have been reported since January 2025, according to K-12 Dive. Research suggests that fear of immigration enforcement impacts school attendance. A 2025 study of a California school district found a 22% increase in student absences after ICE raids.
And those increases were smaller among older kids and much larger at earlier grades and preschool.
Dee says the pattern is consistent with concerns around family separation.
Ya no sabe uno ni qué hacer, si mandarlos o no mandarlos. Pero y si no los mandamos, arruinamos el futuro de ellos.
¿Prefieren tomar el riesgo?
Sí.
Porque es el bien para él, porque no se le pueden decir que no va, pero imagínense, va a perder grados y todo esto.
This couple says they will send their 11-year-old son to the bus stop alone, hoping to limit their own exposure.
Con temor cuando se vaya y cuando regrese todos los días, imagínate.
A painful dilemma for parents with dire consequences for their kids.
Triste porque en verdad quiero tener un futuro, pues para comprarle una casa a mis papás.
Lourdes Hurtado, NBC News.
Coming up, fresh controversy surrounding those so-called shock gloves that'll be in the hands of ICE agents pretty soon. Folks in one Nebraska community sounding off on the controversial tech after learning they were actually being used in public schools. More on that next. We are back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with a plot twist involving former FBI Director James Comey and his novel. NBC News politics reporter Megan Brandt has that and some other Washington headlines. Megan, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Let's start at the Justice Department, which is prosecuting former FBI Director James Comey over that 8647 Seashells post. Now prosecutors are using Comey's own crime novel in its argument that the Seashells post threatened President Trump's life. In new court filings this week, the prosecutors described Comey's book as centering on a prosecutor going after a far right-wing media personality. In the book, that personality, the DOJ explains, has singled out his enemies who are getting killed. Now the DOJ filing seems to compare Comey to the book's villain. Remember, Comey has pleaded not guilty. Let's go next to the reflecting pool. New court filings reveal that a National Park Service engineer noticed back in early June that the bottom of the pool was peeling up. Remember this summer we saw big chunks of the bottom of the reflecting pool floating to the surface. The engineer had warned the Trump administration that the pool was peeling because of the renovations and the materials being used. President Trump, though, has continuously blamed the peeling on vandalism. Finally, let's turn to Florida's role in the midterm elections. An important theme that we're keeping an eye on here is how redistricting impacts the balance of Florida's members of Congress, which can ultimately impact which party controls the House. The new Florida congressional map created 4 more seats that lean red. Now, some of those races could be closer than others, but Democrats just need to gain a net of 3 seats in order to take control of the House. So all eyes here are going to be on the Sunshine State. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Joe?
All right, Megan, thank you so much. Turning now to those electric shock gloves soon to be used by ICE officers. We first told you last week about the new tool that can deliver those painful electric shocks. Now police in one Nebraska city will no longer carry shock gloves after parents were surprised to learn they were being used in their local public schools. NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley has those details.
Do any of the school resource officers here tonight have those gloves on them? If so, I'm willing and I'm volunteering to be shocked right here, right now.
Tensions high at a public school board meeting in Omaha, Nebraska.
Learn how to de-escalate,
be an adult.
I think vulnerable students have been placed in danger without guardians made aware of the risk.
Parents, students, and members of the community speaking out after learning that, according to Omaha's NBC affiliate, most school resource officers in the district's middle and high schools carried shot gloves, like the ones soon to be used by ICE officers. Last week, ICE announced it plans to purchase $20 million worth of electric gloves for its officers. Both the Omaha police and the manufacturer have done on-camera demos.
Based on how these gloves are being advertised, they are being used on adult men, and they are falling to the ground in pain. What's to say if these gloves are being used on a sixth grader who was just in an overstimulated state?
The Omaha mayor and police chief, in a joint statement Monday, said the gloves were used twice during the last school year, including in a program for students with learning deficits. Writing, "We believe it is the safest use of force option in the rare times when it is used." But late Tuesday, Omaha police announcing they will no longer use the glove in schools after community pushback and a request from the superintendent. The police chief writing, "We will adhere to that request," adding that OPD officers will forever carry standard issue equipment, including tasers, OC spray, batons, and firearms to ensure the protection of others and themselves. But parents with children in Omaha are still upset.
If there's a hair harmed on their head, then I'm going to exercise my rights as a human being, as a father, to protect not only my children, but all the children in the community.
Meanwhile, the glove has been advertised at least 2 school resource officer conferences in Mississippi and Texas.
That was Julia Ainsley reporting. Now, despite this latest public backlash over the shot gloves, a senior DHS official tells NBC News the department has every intention to move forward with ICE agents using them. Coming up, out with the new and in with the old. When Morning News Now returns, why some tech-savvy shoppers are flocking to phone resale markets instead of shelling out for the latest and greatest. We're watching your wallet, coming up. Welcome back. Sandra Bullock is opening up for the first time about the tragic loss of her partner of 8 years, Brian Randall. The Oscar winner is on a press tour right now for her new film, Practical Magic 2, the sequel to the 1998 hit movie she starred in with Nicole Kidman. And she's breaking her silence about the loss of Randall and the disease that robbed him of his life. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda is here with the details. Emily, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Good morning to you. Sandra Bullock has faced serious illnesses in her family before, including her mom's cancer. But in a rare remarks about her private life, she described how her partner's ALS diagnosis was different, calling it traumatic and opening up about how her family got through.
This morning, Oscar winner Sandra Bullock opening up for the first time about the loss of her longtime partner Brian Randall and his private battle with ALS.
He asked me not to share, and I know why he asked me not, and it isolated me in the process.
In a new episode of the podcast Smartless, Bullock explains how the secrecy around the model-turned-photographer's disease took a toll on her, shouldering Randall's difficult care inside their home while raising her 2 young children during the COVID pandemic.
When the physical illness was then coupled with the mental health aspect of things, and it's something that people don't talk about. And it doesn't happen to everybody, but it was a trifecta that was pretty dark.
Along with her sister, Bullock says she eventually confided in fellow actors Jennifer Aniston and Amanda Anka, the wife of Jason Bateman. The 3 seen in Bullock's recent Instagram posts showcasing behind the scenes of the podcast, friends, and family. ALS is a progressive nervous system disease that impacts the brain and spinal cord and has no cure. Lou Gehrig, Stephen Hawking, and more recently actor Eric Dane among the well-known people who have faced the devastating disease.
Where he was in his journey, both physically and mentally, I started grieving Brian 4 years before he passed. You know someone through their eyes, and there was something that had shifted.
Bullock and Randall's love story dates back to 2015 when he photographed her son's birthday party.
The couple made their public debut later that fall, appearing on the red carpet for her film Our Brand is Crisis. He later snapped this image for People magazine's cover to celebrate Bullock's adoption of her daughter Lila.
And if anyone tries to hurt one of my new friends, I would take them out.
While the Miss Congeniality star often leads a private, personal life, Bullock gushed about her family to Hoda in 2018.
You're a forever parent the minute you accept the love of that child.
Several years later on Red Table Talk, she praised Randall as a great example for her kids.
I am someone who went through the divorce process.
Right.
I found the love of my life. We shared 2 beautiful children, 3 children, his older daughter. It's the best thing ever.
Randall passed away in 2023 after a 3-year battle with ALS, according to a statement from his family, who acknowledged at the time Brian chose early to keep his journey with ALS private, and those of us who cared for him did our best to honor his request. Now, several years since Randall's passing, Bullock says she's in a good place.
I think I did the right thing with the kids. Yes, I did usher Brian out the way a human being deserves to be ushered out. And I didn't take care of myself then, but I so take care of myself now.
This was all part of a sweeping conversation. Bullock also talks about navigating guilt as a mom, finally joining Instagram this year, and her upcoming movie, Practical Magic 2, alongside Nicole Kidman. Bullock and Kidman, by the way, will be sitting down with Hoda again. That's going to air next month.
All right, we'll look forward to that. Emily, thank you so much. Some consumer news now. Shoppers rushing to get the latest and greatest tech gadgets could become maybe a thing of the past, whether it's the newest smartphone model or a gaming console. A growing number of people say it's just not worth the money. Instead, more Americans are buying refurbished electronics. Experts predict the global secondhand marketplace will top $153 billion this year. That's up nearly $14 billion from 2025. Assistant editor at The Atlantic, Alexandra Tremaine-Pengelly, joins me now with more on this. Alexandra, good to have you with us. Let's start with the biggest cause of this, and that is rising prices. Is this just inflation, or is there more? What's the reason we're seeing electronics get more expensive?
Yeah, so the AI build-out has caused a shortage of RAM or memory chips, which are a key component in many consumer electronics, and that's caused rising prices for things like laptops, smartphones, tablets. Apple, for example, in June raised the prices of its MacBooks and iPads, and those price hikes have really made it harder to justify paying for a brand new device. It's driving demand for used alternatives instead, and it's really caused a big boom in secondhand tech.
Yeah, some of the price tags are really jaw-dropping. I know a recent report on Apple product trends found a majority of buyers, it's 76%, refuse to upgrade until the new versions feel, quote, worth the cost. Anyone who watches this show knows until last year, I had an iPhone 7. I did finally upgrade a little bit, but these upgrades, are they not as significant as they used to be? Is that maybe part of what's driving this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on top of price increases, something I heard from a lot of the shoppers that I spoke with is that there's this sense that over the years, it's become harder and harder to spot the differences between models. If you remember back in like the 2010s, there was this really palpable excitement and hype around new launches. There were huge lines outside of Apple stores. Those lines are largely gone now, and that's partially because of online pre-orders, but also over the years, we've gotten used to these devices. We're replacing them less frequently than we used to. Most people, as you said, only want to upgrade if they feel like it's worth the cost. And there's this just broader sense that people really care less about new features and they're focused more on getting something that's functional.
Exactly, as the phone can do the main things you need it to do. Check your social media, maybe send a few texts, you're good. I know you spoke to several shoppers who said they actually prefer to buy refurbished electronics over new models. What are some of the most popular used tech gadgets that people actually do want?
I mean, it's sort of across the board, and that demand has really ticked up with these recent price increases that we're seeing. One refurbished electronics company, Backmarket, said that in the week after Apple's announcement, they saw order values for MacBooks go up by 37%, iPads were up 25%, and even non-Apple laptops have seen demand rise by 74% in the past year. Across the market, other sellers are also reporting notable jumps for things like computers and smartphones, but also hard drives and gaming consoles as well.
And real quickly, just what are the main factors people use in deciding between new versus old?
Well, hunting down old technology obviously can take a little bit more time and effort, has a bit more risk than just getting something fresh out of the box. But it does seem that the attitudes towards secondhand tech have really shifted over the past few years. People really trust these devices a lot more. And I just think the willingness to kind of opt out of buying new and instead go for old shows that we're looking for something a bit more practical these days, which is deals.
Practicality is back in. All right, Alexandra Tremaine Pengelly, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. In Los Angeles, a new kind of radio show is hitting the airwaves. It has two hosts, but only one of them is human. The other, as you can probably guess by now, is AI. The show is so popular, it's now expanding to other cities. Reporter Amber Frias from NBC Los Angeles has that story.
It's Gigi y Coyotec. Coyotec, mi amigo inteligente, el más inteligente de todos.
Morning radio has always been about chemistry, the back and forth between the people behind the mics. But inside this Los Angeles studio, one of those voices isn't a person.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Meet Coyotec.
I'm Coyotec,
a bilingual AI-powered radio personality sharing the mic with veteran host Gigi Guzman.
The energy is definitely there, but obviously, I can't touch him, but yeah, it's wild, for sure.
He jokes, reacts, and switches between English and Spanish. We asked him where he's from.
I grew up between an antenna in Mexicali and a turntable in Boyle Heights.
Coyotec first went on air last September on Entravision Spanish language Jose 97.5 in LA. What started as a more scripted robotic character has evolved, now using AI to respond on his own.
It's crazy because Gigi and I, we just click,
Entravision president Eduardo Maitorena says the goal is connection.
I wanted somebody to go out there, to connect, to be authentic.
I got opinions, I got passion for the community, and I'm not afraid to speak truth.
And listeners are responding.
The listeners ask for him and they want to see him or they want to hear him or just, converse with him.
Now the experiment is expanding.
It's about the signal reaching further. It's about the community knowing we're there for them.
Entravision is now bringing Gigi and Coyotec beyond Los Angeles to several markets across its Fuego network with a bilingual format. When we ask Coyotec what makes him better than a human...
That's not how I see it, Amber. I'm not better than a human host. I'm different.
The future really is not about using AI to replace human beings. It's not. It's about giving storytellers a better tool to tell better stories. And that's what we're doing.
I think when we think about, an AI as a co-host, it's kind of scary to think about that he could one day replace us.
I don't think an algorithm can ever replace human connection.
Conmigo Gigi y Coyotec. Buenos días.
A new kind of chemistry as radio looks to the future.
All right, our thanks to Amber Frias for that report. Coming up, countdown to liftoff. After the break, our own Ryan Nobles introduces us to one of the 4 NASA astronauts set to boldly go on that upcoming Artemis 3 mission. What exactly will they be doing hundreds of miles above the surface of the Earth? We'll chat about it next. Let's end this hour with a closer look at the upcoming Artemis 3 mission. Just months after an unforgettable journey around the moon, a new crew of NASA astronauts is getting ready to blast off into history. The latest mission is expected to launch sometime next year, and once in orbit, they will test out docking with lunar landing systems. NBC News correspondent Ryan Nobles had a chance to talk with one of those crew members. He joins us now with more. Hey, Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. You've probably heard the name Frank Rubio before because he's already a star among NASA's astronaut corps. He set the record for the longest single spaceflight. He was in orbit for 371 days, almost actually more than a full year. Now, this next mission, it's going to be a lot shorter, but we can't overstate both the complexity and importance as NASA has its sights set on getting humans back to the moon and maybe one day Mars and beyond.
Mission Specialist, Colonel Frank Rubio.
Since officially joining Artemis 3,
NASA astronaut Frank Rubio and his fellow crew members have been thrust into high gear as they prepare for a critical mission, meeting up and docking with commercially built lunar landing systems.
Landing humans on the moon is still incredibly difficult. Each time we do one of these missions, we test another component of the overall concept.
During their 2-week mission, the Artemis 3 crew will soar in an Orion capsule, first to an altitude of about 900 miles above Earth's surface, before dropping to half that distance for the first test, and completing the second one around the same orbit level as the International Space Station. How much work goes into that preparation to make sure you get it right when you're up there?
Thousands of people working, thousands of hours doing all those calculations. Honestly, it's not just us. Our main role is to be there, monitor, and if things go wrong, to be able to adapt and help still make the mission a success.
SpaceX and Blue Origin are the companies building the lunar landing systems. And while both have experienced setbacks this year, NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman says he's been in touch with their teams and does not expect to change the Artemis 3 timeline.
I'm extremely confident that we are going to be able to launch Artemis 3 next year.
With plans to return humans to the moon as early as 2028, NASA needs this next test to go well as it faces a new space race, this time with China, also aiming to land its astronauts on the lunar surface by 2030. Even for Rubio, who once spent more than a year in space, going into orbit remains a thrill.
It's always something that we dream of as kids, is to get on a rocket and go to space. And so to be able to do that as part of my job is fantastic.
He's joining Commander Randy Bresnik, pilot Luca Parmitano of Italy, and fellow mission specialist Andre Douglas, a backup for the last Artemis mission that took its crew around the moon.
We just went sci-fi.
And deeper into space than any other humans. Rubio, who has Salvadorian roots, says he hopes they can inspire a new generation. What is your message to young Latinos that see you and see themselves in you?
I hope that they can see in me an example of the fact that with hard work, dedication, and all the people around, it has been an incredible honor to represent all of that.
It's incredible talking to Frank. He talks about these complex space missions as if it's just another day at the office. And another reason that NASA needs this to go well, the space agency wants humans back on the moon, not just to plant another American flag, but they actually want to establish a permanent presence. That massive lunar base would be both solar and nuclear powered and set up on the moon's south pole. Scientists actually believe there could be water ice there, and they could potentially use that to create fuel, using the moon as a springboard to go even deeper into space. So we're going to be talking about this for some time, Joe.
Very cool. I wish that was just my day at the office. All right. Ryan, great conversation. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Right. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.